into learning about hope.
Good deal.
6:01, we're going to wait a couple minutes for Commissioner Clement, and then we'll start. I didn't get a message from her.
Good, so you gave her the briefing, you could have contacted Hal.
So this, updates and revisions, what page does it replace? Mr. Chair?
It's and, or is that?
I think it's an addendum. No,
Well,
we're going to get a staff report real quick here. I see it's in section 3.514, section 3.518.
I'm
We'll have
just,
time during staff report to narrow that down. You had some questions on it.
Oh, I see.
I just wonder what page,
Yeah, good question. I don't know either. I just got this here.
yeah.
So
I imagine it's
it would be let's
first
see,
page 60.
They're looking forward to it.
3518,
I got to get that agreement.
3516.
Well, but you know what, there was something left out of the, so if you look at page 51,
Okay.
I think that's, I don't know.
Here's the informational summary.
On page 51, but I don't know. Ordinarily, it stopped abruptly at the end of the page, so maybe.
Well, it's warm in here, isn't it?
No, I'm not to breathe on you.
We just had a general question about where the revisions, what page 3.514 is on. We'll find out in a minute.
But in terms of on page 51,
Yeah.
it ends, so maybe it's 51A perhaps?
Okay, this is going to be 51A.
That's what this is? No?
I just got a new office chair.
I do.
These are primo.
Which is,
I would appreciate it.
you better make a copy. I don't have 51A. Do you?
Yeah, I saw it, but I didn't print it off.
Does anybody
Printer
have
was
it?
not, no.
Okay.
Printed it off, but then I don't know what I did with it.
I think we have 51.
Okay.
Yeah. She should send it to me earlier by email, but they didn't.
Oh, okay. So we make these amendments and then we vote on it? Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, the motion would look like the one on the bottom of the page, with including the adopting amendments, including the staff amendment presented on July 11th.
Okay.
And that's, we're going to get a staff report on that.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and start the meeting. Hopefully Lisa will get here. I called her. Good evening. The Board of Commissioners is the governing body of Clatsop County, all county service districts for which this body so acts, and as the Clatsop County Local Contractor Review Board is now meeting in regular session. Will you please join me for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have the roll call, please?
Here?
Here?
Yes. Here.
We have an amended agenda tonight with a added of a presentation. I'd look for a motion to approve the amended agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to second to approve the agenda. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Amended agenda passes. Okay, first off, we're going to go with business from the public. This is an opportunity for anyone to give a 3-minute presentation. Is there any business from the public that's not on a public hearing? You will be taking public testimony tonight on a number of public hearings. Seeing no business from the public, we'll move on to our presentation. We have a presentation night. We have the 4-H project and county fair presentation. So come on up, and we look forward to hearing your report. Hi.
Hello, I'm Callie Linder, and I am a Clatsop County Fair Board member, and I'm a 4-H leader and a 4-H mom, and I have some kids here with me tonight. I just wanted to share some things about 4-H. Currently, our county has 431 kids enrolled in 4-H. We have 39 4-H clubs and 127 adult club leaders. We have Clover Buds as young as age 5 and traditional 4-H kids ranging from 9 to 19. With the reintroduction of the agriculture program and the FFA in Astoria High School, we'll be able to see kids continuing these programs until they're 21. We have kids at fair entering projects as small as a jar of jelly all the way up to 1,300-pound cattle. We have kids involved in the community service, mentoring younger children. We have 13-year-olds that are writing business plans and high school kids who have started breeding programs. We have 2 kids, both from Astoria High School, that are participating in National Congress, traveling the country, representing Oregon for 4-H. Wow. Tonight, we have experience for the 4-H kids ranging from a first-year student to a delegate with National Congress. So I'm going to hand the microphone over to Shelby.
Hi. How are you guys?
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. My name is Shelby. This is my 4th year doing 4-H. My projects include pigs, sheep, and goats. My favorite experience was getting grand champion my first year with the goats. Oh, reserve. My bad. One of my most fun memory this year was going to a judging clinic down at OSU. I learned a lot, so much that some flew over my head, but it was a great experience. I look forward to seeing what I can do further down, which I want to do throughout my high school career and maybe even further. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Good evening. Ooh. Good evening. My name is Raina Jagger. This is my first year participating in 4-H. My project is my Weather Arlo. I wanted to do 4-H this year to take responsibility for something. My favorite part thus far has been washing and working with my lamb. I've learned that not everything comes easy and you have to work for what you want. I'm looking forward to competing and working hard in the show ring. We had many meetings throughout the year and my club has participated in many events. The best one by far was the judging clinic at OSU. There we got to judge different classes of animals. We put them in order from what ones we thought the judge would like best. Then we gave the judges a set of oral reasons. It was really fun and challenging hands-on experience. Thank you for your time this evening. I am happy to have the opportunity to share what I love about 4-H with you. This year's fair is going to be the biggest and the best. I hope you are able to come and see our projects.
Hi, I'm Ava Pomberg, and through 4-H I've learned a lot of new things and have had awesome opportunities. The biggest thing that 4-H has taught me is a lot about responsibility, and having a market animal is a lot of responsibility, and with 4-H I have learned how to take care of that and work through it. Last year I got to attend our 4-H summer conference at OSU, which was a great opportunity, and while I was there I got to make lots of new memories and meet lots of new people. This year at our county fair I am trying something new and I'm showing a steer. My steer's name is Chevy, and throughout the year I've had a lot of fun working with him and practicing showing him. I'm also showing my lamb, Lambo. This is my 3rd year showing sheep at our fair, and I've really enjoyed it, and I absolutely love showing them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marcus Rasmussen, and I'm currently 16 years old. I have 5 sisters, and I live with my mom and dad. The reason I joined 4-H is because a couple of church friends told me about it. My projects this year include wood science, meat goats, sheep, and beef cattle. Previously, I've also participated in shooting sports and swine project areas. Some of my interests outside of 4-H include playing football, baseball, wrestling, basketball, and playing the trumpet. When I started my 4-H career, my project consisted of only shooting sports. By the 3rd year, I began working on livestock projects after my friend suggested it to me. My first year, I started with swine and market goats. 1 week before fair, I learned a life's lesson after trying to cool my pig down too fast, which resulted in killing her. It was sad. I loved my pig, and I put a lot of work and money into her. Thankfully, my goat had a good price in the auction that helped me recover some of my costs. My 4-H leader invited our club to a jackpot show, so I took the offer. With some assistance outside the ring, I became hooked on the livestock shows. I wanted to learn more, and I wanted to travel as well. So, from the advice from my leader, a sheep guy, I took on a new project and added sheep. This past year, I attended shows in Corvallis, Canby, Prineville, Tye Valley, Astoria, Redmond, Oregon, and Chehalis, Washington. These may have not been 4-H shows, but they did help me with my 4-H projects. I know they helped me because when I attended county fair and state fairs, I placed well, reflecting the amount of work I put in. My passion has rubbed off on my parents. As a result, we just bought a small hobby farm where I can raise all of our own livestock. When I started a few market projects, what started with a few market projects is now a flock of 30 chickens, 6 ducks, 4 goats, 5 sheep, and a beef cow. We also have a family cow, horse, and a higher mortgage of that too. Even though it's more work, my family has never been more happy at where we are now. I would never have thought that I was going to show an alpaca, but all that changed last summer when my friend suggested we should show alpacas for fun. We traveled to the Canadian border to pick up a couple of rescue alpacas. The alpacas have never been shown and were barely even touched by people. So we were in for a lot of work, and so were the alpacas. As fair got closer, 4-H members who said they were going to show alpacas dropped out, but I stayed committed. My leader was also new to the project, and he was learning right along with me. He took me to a show right before the fair, but this show mostly taught me more about the industry. Coincidentally, most of my training on showmanship was done at the fair. I received a blue ribbon for both my animals, but it helped me realize that the showmanship skills I gained from showing other animals helped me learn quickly. As of now, my project has turned into a breeding herd with 3 females and 1 male. The livestock project has taught me several life skills. It taught me responsibility. These animals rely on me, and when it comes down to it, sometimes I've had to pick between having fun with friends or working with animals. There were times at fair, a show, or a trip where I had to wake up at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to show my animals. This took serious self-discipline, as sleeping in on a weekend has become 7 in the morning when it used to be 10 in the morning. My friends don't always understand it either because they don't raise livestock, so they lack the level of responsibility I've gained from my experiences. Self-motivation has taught another virtue I have learned through my livestock project. I would often find myself saying that the extra work will pay off. I found that to be true when I attended a local jackpot show and was able to enter the grand drive. Although I did not win the big prize, I've never felt more accomplished, since the jackpot shows are very competitive. This year was my first sense of true accomplishment in the show ring, and I will remember that moment for a lifetime. Understanding life has been a substantial feat 4-H taught me. During my first year doing the livestock project, my market hog passed away. This past year, my market goat passed away due to the extreme heat at a livestock show. Additionally, at times, there are things that are out of our control, and we just have to accept the result. One can make mistakes and there are consequences for them. We can't dwell on them, we just need to dust off our jeans, learn, and move on. I've never liked being pushed outside of I never liked being pushed outside of my comfort zone, but a 4-H leader can be really good at that. This past year I was pushed to do public speaking. I was given instructions and was coached on that. This past year, and was coached on how to make a quality presentation. I spoke about football, which was a familiar topic. After my speech, I was asked to announce the awards banquet for 4-H in front of 200 people. The combination of both events boosted my confidence, and now I feel able to speak in front of even larger crowds. This has helped me in school, too, as I don't get nervous anymore in front of my class. Currently, I am working on a speech that is supposed to relate to agriculture. This, too, out of my comfort zone, but I am now learning so much through my research on farmers struggling with predation in Eastern Oregon. This has turned into a learning to learn situation as I want to research more about the current issues in agriculture. This year I was faced with some serious decision making. I love summer baseball, but it conflicted with spring jackpot shows and 4-H, so I faced with the choice of what to drop. Since I already played baseball through the school and I was beginning to understand there's more to 4-H than county fair, I decided to drop summer baseball. My coach and some peers were not found in my decision, but it has proven to pay off at the end with the knowledge relating to agriculture and the skills learned in the past year. I've taken on a more leadership role in 4-H. I wasn't even aware of this option. I am currently serving as the president of my 4-H club, serving my second term this year. I have joined a state fair committee to help with logics regarding youth attending state fair. I have helped and organized fundraisers and a community service project, removing invasive species from a city park through my club. This year I was at a camp lock-in counselor, and I am currently on I was a part of the World Retreat Governing Board, where the board plans the whole event and teaches classes. I also taught a breeding livestock evaluation and how to make a survival kit, and a class on how to change a tire and change the oil on a car. It wasn't until last year I realized that there was more to 4-H, to the 4-H world than fair. But now I am bleeding 4-H green and trying to catch up for the lost time before I graduate from high school. I have learned cooperation through 4-H, including how to listen, the importance of group decision making, and sharing ideas with people. This has made projects in both school and sports easier. Cooperation is very important and an attribute to have, especially if you want to work on the field that involves teamwork. Cooperation is a life lesson, in my opinion, many as adults should learn. Since I took a further step in leadership, I have gained many new friends around my state. I met other leaders at camps and trainings. For example, I'm the World Governing Board, along with 12 other boys and girls that I talk to, and I talk to many of them often. All in all, 4-H has done more for me than I can explain. 4-H has done more for my future than any other sport or program has ever done. It has made me a much better person. In all my years of being part of 4-H, I have learned leadership, cooperation, sportsmanship, and more that I can use later in life and apply to the future situations. It has also granted me the privilege to meet people outside of school and sports. 4-H has given me the opportunity to become a leader and practice it. I wasn't aware of leadership opportunities around me, but now I see it every day when I take on the role of a leader in activities I do at home, church, sports, 4-H, and at school. As the president of my 4-H club, I have also learned how to work with the kids by listening, making them feel part of the 4-H family, and how to work at their level. There is so much more to 4-H than just raising a pig. Though just this past year in 4-H, I have grown to be a student and a community member who is more reliable, responsible, and more focused. Without 4-H, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I hope to be in the future. I hope to continue with 4-H as an adult and pay it forward to the next generations of leaders. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First, before I start on my part, I would like to give these people right here a round of applause for just being able to come up here and talk in front of you guys.
this is a big part of 4-H is talking in front of people that you don't know. So, okay. So hi everyone, I am Bailey McSwain. I am 16 years old. I just finished my sophomore year at Astoria High School, and this is my 7th year in 4-H. I'm in 4 different 4-H clubs. I am in Crazy Critters Livestock, Milky Way Dairy and Livestock, Clatsop Claybusters, and the Clatsop County Leadership Club. So at the fair this year, I will first talk about the animals that I'm bringing. I am involved in 5 different species of animals. I will be bringing dairy cattle, beef cattle, poultry, dairy goats, and swine. Oh, I'm going back and forth. Okay.
You're fine.
And so I will have several of each of those animals there, and I hope all of you can come and see them because they're pretty awesome. So, and also on the other side of the fairgrounds is the exhibit hall, and I will be turning in some plants, food preservation, photography, and art. And those are really, both sides are really important parts to 4-H because they teach you different life skills. Because a lot of people that are in 4-H don't know how to preserve food or bake food or take cool photos and stuff like that. And I've really learned from that stuff. So I'm also part of Clatsop Claybusters, which is a shotgun and rifle club where we shoot for competition. I just came back from the state shoot a few weeks ago, and we had a really good turnout from there. We have 4 people from Oregon are being sent to nationals for next year. And then the Leadership Club, we do a lot of community service, and we run camps in the county. We also teach classes at some of our 4-H events like Super Saturday. Through the Leadership Club, I was a governing board member of WORLD, which is Western Oregon Retreat for Leadership Development, which is through 4-H. Marcus was also on that board. Through a governing board, we planned the whole event, which was a 2 or 3 day event. We taught classes. What else did we do? We thought of the theme. We thought of games that we could do and icebreaker games so that people could get to know each other. We stayed in cottages at the 4-H Salem Center, which is in Salem, obviously. Well, I didn't think about that. Yeah. And so also just a few weeks ago, I went to summer conference, which is a statewide 4-H event that about 400 people attend, of just youth. And at this event, I interviewed for 2 different things, 4-H State Ambassador for Oregon and National Congress. So State Ambassador, we pretty much what a State Ambassador does is they are the leaders of the youth all around Oregon, and we help plan different events around the state, like summer conference, and we help plan something called Youth Voices in Action. And we also plan stuff within our counties. We also have to work a shift at the state fair, either in the info booth, sometimes in the barn, just to help get the word out about 4-H. There we are 4-H ambassadors, getting to everybody to learn about it and get other kids involved so they have the opportunities that we do. And National Congress is a national-wide event, and about 45 states attend in Atlanta, Georgia during Thanksgiving week. And we do things called service projects, which is community service, and we also take different classes that are there in Atlanta that are being taught by some of the people that planned the event. We have several different dances that we go to and a gala that we have to plan for. But since our state gets there a day early because we are so far away, we're the only Western state that goes. California doesn't go, Washington doesn't go, Nevada doesn't go. So we get there a day early, and we get to do different tours of Atlanta. We get to go to the land of Coca-Cola. We get to do a bunch of fun stuff there before the actual event starts. Then we meet a lot of people from different states. My friend Henry went last year, And he has friends from Kentucky and Florida and Ohio and so many different places, and you meet so many different people there. I'm just really excited to go. Thanksgiving morning, so we'll be missing elk hunting season, so that's okay though. I have first season, so it's the week before. But I'm really excited to go on this trip, and it's really exciting thing. It's a really good, big honor to be chosen for this, and I was. I did 2 different interviews that I had to do to get chosen for it after an application process before summer conference. So yeah, that's about National Congress. So Clatsop County Fair, the July 31st through August 4th. On August 4th, I will be marketing a beef steer, a pig, and a turkey. And they are very good quality, I gotta say. I hope everybody, and I also have my dairy goats, which are my breeding stock that I've owned since 2012. And it's been rapidly growing. My mom wants me to get rid of them. But I hope all of you can come see them and hopefully even see some of the market animals and eventually buy them, because they are very good quality, and all 4-H'ers put a lot of work into these market animals to make quality food for all of you. Better than the store, I gotta say. So thank you all, and I hope to see you at the fair.
Thank you.
Chair Lee, would you folks like to take a picture before you go? Oh, okay.
Well, thank you so much for this presentation. It was very informing. 4-H is a great program.
Very good, you guys.
Does any of the commissioners have any comments or questions for our guests?
No, just. Well, the fair, it was in the paper recently, and it looks like they're looking towards some positive changes. Do you have any comments about that?
I'm excited.
But about making the fair itself?
Are you talking to us, to me personally?
Whoever wants to answer this.
John is our fair manager right here in the back, and we're doing a lot because we know that the county fair isn't just about animals for everybody. Like for us, we go to see the animals, but that's not what everybody comes for. So while we have a lot of animals in the barn, this year we have a record number of beef cattle. We have 64 cattle that have been entered in the county fair by kids this age. But we also want to make things for everybody to come so they can spend the whole day at the fair, not just come tool around through the barn. So we have things like dunk tanks, mechanical bull, watermelon eating contest that we've partnered with United Way. They're going to fundraise on Saturday. We're having a whole hog barbecue. We have beef barbecues, bounce houses, mutton busting, monster truck rides. We have lots of fun stuff planned this year.
Great.
I think I'm signed up to serve some beef or something.
Oh, the beef barbecue?
Barbecue, yes. I did that last year.
Yes, and the coveted pie booth is back.
What is that? Tell me about that. I want to know about that.
The Lutheran Church used to serve pie, and they couldn't do it anymore, and we are bringing it back this year.
So you can just go someplace and get a piece of pie, or?
Pie.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
I just want to say that I think that you all did a great presentation. It's not an easy thing to do, and I think I was a leader for 1 year, and I was a 4-H member when I was a kid, and I think it's a great organization, and I'm happy to see you all up here. So thank you for coming.
I spent a lot of years as a 4-H mom. I have to tell you, to have your family go out and buy a farm, that's supportive parenting, I think, for 4-H. That sets the bar real high. Good job.
I also have buyer's guides for the market auction, if anybody wants one.
I can see why you went to the National Congress.
Okay, if everybody, Leslie wants to take your picture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, of course, of course.
A few of you are in the picture. Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, look for a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion to second to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent calendar passes. Our next item is a public hearing. This is ordinance 18-02. This is a continuation of a public hearing on ordinance 18-02, amendments to land and water development and use ordinance in Clatsop County Standards Document -F80, EFU, and AF zones regulation. I see we've got quite a some new information from staff, and I just got a piece of this just a moment, so we probably have some questions, and so I'll let you start out with the staff report.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Gail Henriksen, Community Development Director. The information, there's two items. One is an email from Ashley Latora, who's with Oregon Department of Forestry, and this is a follow-up to Commissioner Sullivan's question about can the county, through its ordinances, expand the spraying buffer, and her answer is no, and she provided the state statute that specifies that 60-foot buffer. So that was an informational only, just to follow up.
Thank you for following up with that.
The other item, and I just, two things. I want to make sure that I clearly understood what we discussed on June 27th at the work session. My understanding was that we were going to move forward with this ordinance, but also to reconvene the ad hoc committee and discuss future ways to expand the uses in the RA zones. And so we have set a date, I believe, of August 14th, where that ad hoc committee will come back and begin meeting with the Planning Commission to discuss those additional uses.
May I ask, I know there are farmers that are on that ad hoc committee, Teresa Retzloff, and I know that this is their busy season. If we're going to have a second reading, would the ad hoc committee bring their findings after the second reading? Like, could we have that ad hoc committee edit more in the winter so it's not interfering with their busy season? I don't know how that works, so.
Yeah, so this would be your second reading tonight on 1802, and then anything that comes out of that ad hoc committee and would be brought back as a separate ordinance. And when we contacted the members, everybody expressed desire to be there and an ability to be there.
Okay.
So Teresa actually said that her harvesting season was starting to wind down right now. So I think that, and as we move forward, then we can schedule around their schedules.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
And then the final thing is we have just one small additional change we'd like to request. This would be on page 82 of your published agenda, and it's in regard to the ag forestry zone. And the suggested item, which is also attached to that memo, would add 3 words.
Yeah, it's in the.
Here we go. 82. All right, thank you.
Everybody?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay.
It's just the blue item there, year-round use.
Yeah, to add year-round as well as seasonal farm worker housing. And so that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, great. Yeah, Gail, you've done a great job on this. I know you kind of like stepped into it, and it just goes to show your experience, and you've been very professional in working with the board to answer their questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and so do members have any questions?
I think we have chewed on this sufficiently.
Oh, great.
I'm ready to make a motion if you're ready to have one.
Well, I think
Do
that
we have
what
to
we
have
need
the
to do
second
is
reading first?
we're gonna go for public testimony.
Public testimony
Yeah.
first.
Is there, we have the staff, thank you for the staff report. Is there any public testimony? If you wish to testify, come forward and give your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes. I see no
3 minutes to get up here.
Yeah, you're running out of time. This is for ordinance 18-02. Seeing no public testimony, I will now close the public hearing and work towards a motion.
So, Mr. Chair, I move to approve ordinance 18-02, adopting amendments to the county's Land and Water Development and Use Ordinance number 80-14 and to the Clatsop County Standards document related to updates to the Farm and Forest Codes, including the staff amendment presented on July 11th, 2018.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 18-02, adopting amendments to the County Land and Water Development Use Ordinance number 80-14 and the Clatsop County Standards document related to updates to the Farm and Forest Codes, including the staff amendment presented on July 8th, 2018. Seeing no further deliberations, I'd just like to make one comment. I'd really like to thank the ad hoc committee for choosing to come back together. That's great. And we look forward to hearing any of their reports. We have a motion and a second. See no further deliberations or comments?
I just wanted to say, I thought this was a wonderful way to honor the past and adapt to the present and plan for the future. I expect we'll have to keep working at it, but that's good. This is great progress. I'm just delighted to be part of it.
Great. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay. This is, now we're going to move on to our next public hearing. This is the time set for a public hearing on ordinance 18-07, adding a 1% transient room tax for tourism promotion and jail operations. May I have the staff report, please?
I don't know when I need to recuse myself.
I'm going to go down after the first reading by short title only. Does any commissioner have a conflict of interest? So you can report that and then leave at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Or if you choose.
We didn't do this, on the last ordinance, we did not do this second.
Reading.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
I was going to remind you, but she beat me to it.
Tom, would you conduct the second reading? No.
That's your job, Chair.
Okay.
I will do that. If you guys don't.
No, we don't mind at all.
Thank you. Let me find it. There it is, right there. In the matter of an ordinance adopting legislative text amendments to the Land and Water Development and Use Ordinance 80-14 and to the Clatsop County Standards document related to uses and development standards in the inclusive farms use EFU forestry-80, F80, and agricultural forestry zones. So that's the, got that. Okay. Thank you for pointing that out to me. Sorry about that.
Therefore.
Okay. Now we can maybe have the staff report.
You bet.
No, just by the title.
Oh, I short title only.
Yeah, title only. Thank
Learning
you.
all the time. Thanks.
Another growth experience.
That's right.
Welcome.
Thank you. Chair Lee and Commissioners, myself and my Lieutenant Matt Phillips are here to present. This was prepared by our council, County Council, Heather Reynolds, which did a great job, all of us working together, I believe. But we're here to the first reading of this ordinance 2018-07, adding a new section to the Title III of Clatsop County Code to provide for a countywide 1% tax, a transient room tax, to be used for tourism promotion and to also help supplant the additional jail funds partially to really alleviate some of the stress on the general fund. So with that all said, the issue before you tonight is this. This is the first reading of the public ordinance, as I stated, adding a new section to Title III of Clatsop County to provide this code for the county 1% transient room tax to be used for tourism promotion and jail operations. Clatsop County currently imposes a 9.5% room tax on our unincorporated county and city hotels and so on. The transient room tax is within their boundaries, I should say. So the state also imposes a transient lodging tax. This would be a separate 1% tax in addition to that already paid. 70% of these funds, so if a room is $100 for the night, we would get 30 cents, and then the tourism county or the cities and tourism would actually get another 70% back to help promote tourism back into our county, which is great, I think, for both of us in the long run. This county doesn't really need a lot of promotion, but we do get a huge amount of people that come to this area. My 33 years of experience, I know that we get people from Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia, Vancouver, Portland, Salem, Eugene, and Corvallis, obviously, and they all mostly come to either Lincoln City or to Clatsop County. Clatsop County is inundated with approximately 100,000 people extra on weekends at any given time. We do the collection would the county would actually collect and administer the tax and distribute back It's proposed that the county enter into the agreements with the cities to deliver the 70% collected from within the boundaries of each city back to that city for tourism purposes. As I said earlier, the remaining 30% would go towards operations dedicated to partially funding the additional costs of a larger jail, which we are in dire need of, obviously, as we've stated throughout many of these last meetings for the last year or two. On a summer weekend, it is estimated there are an additional 100,000 people in Clatsop County. Our population, as you know, is about 38,000. 27% of that, of those people are, on any day, I should say, 27% of the people that are booked into our county jail come from outside of the county. A lot of times it's higher than that on 4th of July or any busy weekend that Seaside or Astoria might have. Sometimes it's as high as 60, 70% are not local citizens. So we do have quite a bit of, I guess, issues from people that come out of town. I've also talked to several people in the community and business community throughout Astoria and Seaside who are actually very much in favor of this because they realize that part of the stressors on the general fund would then be thus being paid by individuals that are not from our county that do cause additional stress to our facility, as you well know. This ordinance would become effective January 1st, 2019. If the bond measure for the jail is not passed, then the board does have that option to consider not invoking or not putting this into place. Personally, I think it would be a wise decision to go ahead and still include it because it is such a, it would help the general fund. We are very well in the circles of not being way out of proportion as far as taxes go on transient room taxes. We're very moderate compared to some counties and communities. And when you're looking at $1 extra per $100 room, I don't see the stressors really put on the community. Fiscal impact is estimated that it will raise approximately $420,000 for county jail operations, and it will raise almost $980,000 to be distributed countywide for tourism. To me, that's a win-win for everybody, especially the local hotels and motels and everything that we do to promote this wonderful area. And then, but also it's a way that we can promote not just come down here, but it's a way to promote safety and saying, hey, you know, come to the beach, but let's, instead of the classic line, come here on vacation, leave on probation. It's kind of, we can add some additional, you know, safety factors in there as well. Options to consider: the staff recommends that we conduct the first reading of this ordinance 2018-07, open the public hearing and take testimony, and then continue the matter to 2 weeks from now, July 25th, 2018. And that's really all I have, unless you have questions.
Thank you, Sheriff, for your report. Yeah, good job. You answered the questions that I had in your
Okay.
report. So is there any comments or questions from the board?
I think I need to accuse myself.
Okay, that yeah, you can do it. You fine now, or that's fine.
Thank you for your report. I have to recuse myself. I make a living through hospitality, so I'm going to step down right now.
We'll come out and, do you want me to call you, or I'll just send out a messenger? We'll send out the county manager to look for you.
I have my nephew come get
Are you going to be over at the Labor Temple?
She's going to go look for that young lady that's in all the 4-H stuff. My gosh, she's going to be a leader someday, I tell you.
Right. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions for staff? If not, we'll have the first reading by short title only.
All right. Here we go. Yep. I forgot my reading glasses today. But anyway, this ordinance imposing a countywide tax on transient lodging for jail operations and tourist promotion, ordinance number 2018-07. The Board of Commissioners, Clatsop County ordains as follows.
That's all you have to read. You're good.
Okay, thank you for the staff report. We did have a commissioner step out to a conflict of interest. And I will now open the public hearing. If you wish to testify, come forward and give your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes. So I'll bring you back up after public testimony for rebuttal.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And so it looks like Mr. West is right there in front. Thank you. Each person come on up, and we'll have each have 3 minutes. And
Okay.
so when I'll kind of raise my hand when you've got about 10 or 15 seconds left.
Okay, that'll be fine.
Well, thank you. Welcome. State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Don West. I live at 3361 Harrison, and I'm the owner of the Astoria Crest Motel and the general manager of the Cannery Pier Hotel. Lived in the area for 13 years. You might guess that I'm here because I oppose the additional tax. Well, you'd be right there. But it may not be for the reasons you think. I'm opposed to this tax because taxing authorities seem to come to the hotels for money because they see it as an easy way. I mean, after all, local voters aren't affected. So the people who are taxed don't really have a say. I'm opposed to tax hikes whenever the entities in question have not even been brought in for a discussion or comment. Maybe you feel we would say no anyway, so why involve us? I'm opposed to any tax hike on hotels where the benefits never seem to benefit the hotels or tourism in general. I can only speak for Astoria, but in the past decade, the LCTC, the Lower Columbia Tourism Committee, which is part of the chamber, and our promotional arm for tourism, has had a budget given by the city of Astoria of $180,000 each year, and it's never gone up. Room taxes in 2007 was $1.024 million. 56% of that went to the general fund. The rest goes to promoting tourism. Of that 44%, only $180,000 went to actually promote tourism. And it's been that way every year. Last year, the tax was $1.911 million. And that's nearly an 87% increase over the last decade. But we've seen no increase in the promotion for Astoria. Now, I heard the staff say that tourism is doing great. Well, yes, I can name 3 months out of the year that we're doing fabulously. And then I can name the rest of the months where we aren't doing as well. Everyone who works in the industry knows that we use the summer revenue to help us bridge the gaps for the rest of the year. So we need the promotion directly. Now, the county has found our little money pot, and they want to impose a 1% countywide tax to help fund the new jail operations, if the jail is approved by the voters. Only hotels are being asked to pay for this. Personally, I must ask why. I see that the county feels it's justified because 27% of the arrests in the county are people who do not live here on a weekend. Thank you. How do we know those people are staying overnight in hotels and aren't just down here for a day trip? The county only has 30% of the additional 1.4 million. 70% goes to promotion. However, in the last decade, there has been no increase in promotional dollars for the city of Astoria. How do you propose to do this? My final thing, real quick, is that if this does fall, there's wording in there that says that this may be terminated or rescinded. I recommend you change that to will if the jail is not done. Thank you.
I know 3 minutes is a little short sometimes, and we'll have the next guest come up. But remember, the public hearing is going to go on till the July 25th, and we accept written comments that whole time. So go ahead, state your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
My name is David Reed. My address is 4924 Cedar Street, Astoria, and I am the Executive Director of the Astoria-Warrenton Area Chamber of Commerce. The thing I'd like to encourage this panel to do is to slow down, to do a little bit more in-depth conversation with the hospitality industry, as Mr. West suggested, and with the destination marketing organizations who will be affected by the 70% of this money. This is bit backwards in terms of how this transient room tax was envisioned and how it's normally been implemented. It has been about the 70%, how best to use that money, how to apply it in ways that are advantageous for all concerned. To start with the 30% and then sort of have a leftover $980,000 in these figures is a little awkward. Certainly requires some conversation as to how best to use that money for everybody's interest. The other thing I want to remind you is that this is not without impact to the hospitality industry. This 1% tax is in fact charged to their customers. It becomes part of the total bill. It leaves them less flexibility in their own pricing, and that pricing then pays for staff, it pays for overhead, it pays for their own marketing efforts. And so when an additional fee is imposed upon their customers, it limits the amount that they can charge themselves. So please take that into consideration. It's not, it again is not without consequence to the hoteliers. And again, I want to, Mr. West said he would like to hear this be contingent upon the passage of the bond. We concur.
Thank you for your, appreciate that. Is there any more, folks? Mr. Jacob, come on up, state your name and address for the record. Welcome.
I'm Robert Jacob. I live at 140 Grand Avenue. I was born in Astoria. I own the Cannery Pier Hotel and the Atomic Motel. I used to own the Rosebriar and Campers West. I'm opposed to this in all kinds of areas. I'm not as nice as Don and David are to, I don't think it's any part of, do we need a jail? Obviously. Do you tax the hotel, motel industry? Absolutely not. Don summed it up. It's an easy mark. And we've been tapped all the time because they say it's to the customers. That's not how it works. And to say that 1/3 of the crime is by people out of town, I concur. But having a whole lot of jail experience myself, as a lot of you characters back there know, I promise you in all the jails I've been in and all the cities I've been in, I don't remember any of them giving a motel or a hotel as an address. And if you're coming down to spend 200 some bucks at the Holiday Inn, you probably aren't trying to do a crime. And probably a better way to tap is a restaurant tax, bar tax, rental car tax, business tax, beverage tax, none of which any of those industries want to be a part of. Probably a better demographics would be to quiz all the guys in jail to see are intoxicated and maybe find out where they got those liquors. Probably not from drinking in the motel. It's just not, and as far as the tourism part goes, whether it's 70%, Don summed it up. It's been very stagnant, and they've done a great job with the money they've got. That extra 1% isn't going to make much of a difference for us, but it's just sad that this is pretty much the only place you guys always turn to. And when we talked to the Oregon Lodging Association, and I'm speaking for about 5 other hotel owners that I've talked to prior to this discussion, they and the Lodging Association agree with their lobbyists and attorneys. These are exactly the kind of things that the hotel motel probably isn't supposed to be paying for a jail. And if the public doesn't pass the measure for it, maybe we better take a hard look at where is the money, how come we never have enough, and why do we turn to the simplest place? $1.9 million is a whole lot of dollars, and to give 180 to a Chamber of Commerce is pretty pitiful. I want to thank David and Don for talking. See you, Scott.
Thank you. All right. Okay, come on up, say your name and address for the record. Welcome.
Hello, I'm Jim Pino. I'm the Executive Director for the Cannon Beach Chamber of Commerce, and I'm here to support David and Orla and ask for the slowdown of this process and help bring the people to the table that are affected by this tax. I had the opportunity today to speak to the city manager and a city councilor in our community who had no idea that this tax was happening or hadn't heard of it, and nobody had contacted the city to make them aware that this was in place. The city councilor was like, I don't know that they can tax us in the city, which of course you have the ability to do from what I understand. Everybody needs to be brought to the table to have this discussion to best plan how this is implemented. If you just give the money to the city, are you ensuring that that money actually goes to tourism promotion? In our community right now, they're building a reserve with parts of our promotional funds that we are generating in hopes of doing other projects with perhaps buying the old school and making it an event center. So they're building a reserve with that funds, and they could take that 70% and add it to that, and that could not necessarily go to promotional efforts. So I think it's important that you are very clear where that money goes and what it's to be used for, because the one sentence in your ordinance that describes how that should be allocated is very broad, and you're leaving it open for anyone who considers themselves a tourism promotion or tourism facility to come and ask you for that money. I think you're going to open up a whole lot of can of worms if you aren't very clear how that money is to be dispersed.
Thank you. Is there any more public testimony? Come on up, state your name and address for the record. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Chris Hafker, 687 12th Street. I didn't come very well prepared, but I run a homestay lodging business. I do pay my lodging tax, and I compete against a lot of people that don't pay their lodging tax. And I often sit at night and wonder, what could I do with that extra 11%? And I'm sure a lot of hotels think that too. And my prices are adjusted accordingly because I have to compete in a market which it's not very fairly enforced. I do believe that there are other businesses that benefit greatly from the tourism tax dollars, and they're not paying their fair share. I think it's very important as a community for us to tap into some of those other businesses that are profiting quite immensely from all of the promotion dollars that are getting generated from the hotel lodging tax. I would like you to slow down. I would like to see you look for other funding sources, and I don't appreciate every time, like we just had the Parks and Rec get tapped on to the hotel lodging tax here in Astoria. Support Parks and Rec, 100% happy to pay it, but I want to see other people contributing too. So please put the brakes on, and we're not in a community here where we do get full-time tourism. It's important for us to use what we do get, and I'm sure that most hotel owners and homestay lodging hosts could use that 12% money for maintenance and upkeep on their buildings, and that would help benefit them greatly too. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else there? Come on up, state your name and address for the record. Welcome.
My name is Greg Swedenborg. I live at 188 West 2nd Street, Cannon Beach, Oregon, 97110. I'm an owner of the Waves Motel, third generation family business in town since the 1970s. I'm born and raised in the county. I oppose the I oppose what has been proposed for a number of reasons. One, I feel that the reason ORS 320 was written by the state of Oregon was to protect how money is used and not make the hotel and property management companies the low-hanging fruit of which to hang any kind of need for funding on. These business owners spend a lot of money investing in other services in the community, whether it be the trades and contractors, everything they do to keep their businesses afloat, have employment, the employees employ payroll taxes, all those types of things. And to continue to tax that one industry is obviously a little one-sided. In Cannon Beach, we are at 9.8%. The city is talking about doing another 1% for their needs. The county comes along with this this request, and in, I think it's 6 years, we would have gone up 4%. And those are the people that are coming back over and over again to stay in the community. Yeah, granted, there are a lot of one-time visitors, and promotion helps for that from people that are coming from out of, across the country. But the 50 some odd % that we bring in from the Puget Sound area and the Portland area, many are repeat visitors, and they'll find other places to go if that tax creep keeps creeping up. Another issue that I have is the justification with the 27% of people in jail at any given time is, that may be how statistically it is, but those are not people that came from over 50 miles away to spend the night in hotels and help regenerate that revenue. In most cases. I mean, obviously, I don't know the docket of everybody in a county jail, but those are people who did not come here necessarily, to spend money and take their kids for ice cream and do all those different things that they do in the communities. They're people that were picked up on warrants that are driving through, and, there are 1,000 different options there. So it's the lodging tax in ORS 320 is a very inefficient tax vehicle for doing it to build infrastructure for communities. So I just would ask that the commission slow down, look at it, see the inefficiencies, and realize there are other ways. When the number of 100,000 people on any given weekend are here, add up the hotel rooms and lodging and houses that are for rent, that's probably not more than 30 some odd thousand people. So 70,000 are not here as tax-paying tourists. So there are other ways to get the funding. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to testify tonight? Seeing no further testimony, is there a staff response? Sheriff?
Just so y'all know, I'll be in the dunk tank Friday. Yeah, I'll come in. Give me $1 each for that dang room. So anyway, we'll just. All right. Well, with all due respect to everybody, some lines are definitely being blurred here. We do have our statistics. We do know exactly what we're talking about. There are a lot of DUIs that are involved with hotel motel rooms. We have a lot of, I've personally taken meth labs out of hotels. I've had to shut down rooms. I've done all kinds of different things. So not everybody is as saintly as they're stating. There are a lot of very nice people that come here. The other line that's being blurred, that this is not a tax on the hotels. This is not a tax on this industry. Also, the restaurants, we cannot tax them due to state laws and a bunch of other things going on. But this is a tax on the individual that comes down here, and then he goes to Starbucks and spends $6, $7 on a cup of coffee right next door. So for a $100 room, they're going to be spending $1 extra for us. And like I said, it's almost $1 million revenue for supporting the tourism of the individuals that have these hotels and motels. Also, there was the voters are going to be the ones that decide on whether this jail is built, and the burden is not on the hotel motel. That was also stated. This is a $20 million fund, or levy or whatever, tax or what. Thank you. I'm having a hard day today. So anyway, so this $1 per $100 room on a hotel motel is really typically minuscule in comparison. And also, we fall well within the guidelines of the other counties that do this kind of stuff. There was also an individual from Astoria that said that he pays his taxes and so on. Astoria doesn't do a short-term rental, like overnight tax. They're by the week, I believe, isn't it, Suzanne? It's a little bit, it's gauged a lot differently. So there's another line that's being blurred, and I understand the concern. I'm not a big tax kind of guy, but I also understand that we need to supplant to fulfill the needs, to get mental health into the jail, to get all these other additional needs. Our county has definitely outgrown this 29-bed jail, and to help supplant $400,000 approximately of the additional $600,000 that we need is, I think, imperative. Matt also has some statistics if you're interested in those, but We didn't just come in here and make up numbers like 27% and 600,000 and 200,000. And we do know who comes through our jail, and we do know what kind of crimes are caused by transient people. And I don't mean transients down at like the transit center, but transients that come through. We approximately have 11,000 a day that spend the night, 11 to 12,000 people that spend the night in hotels per day. And we also have another additional 11 to 15,000 that just come down for the day and then leave. So, and then a lot of those not a lot, but some occasionally also do grab a room and stay and say, okay, you know what, let's just stay. So we just didn't dive into this slowly. This has been very methodical, and I just appreciate your consideration on this agenda item.
So is that a handout here for us there, Matt?
Yes, it is.
Great.
When looking at this, I tried to get a feel for what the scope of the tourism in Clatsop County. So I looked at the population estimates that are provided every year by Portland State University, and then some research that's provided yearly by Dean Runyon Associates on tourism. And what I found is that there's a handful of destination counties where tourism is disproportionate. So for Clatsop County, they say that there's 3,870,900 overnight stays per year. And that works out to basically 100 visitors staying overnight for every citizen of Clatsop County. There was other counties that were similar, and that being Tillamook, Lincoln, and Deschutes County. But then when you look at some of our other neighboring counties, it's very different situation. For example, in Columbia County, there's only 13 overnight stays per citizen per year. And I looked at Multnomah County, which is a population of 800,000, nearly 20 times bigger than us, and their overnight stays is estimated at 12 million. So basically, 3.5 times more than what we're seeing. So for our small county, I think our essential services feel a disproportionate burden in keeping everybody safe. And so that's part of why this is proposed.
Great. I should have figured this out before I came tonight, but one of the questions I've had, do we have a number? Does Lincoln County have a, do you know what they?
Yes, so Lincoln County, their population is estimated at 47,960. They have 4,970,600 overnight stays, and so their proportion to citizens is 103.64.
Do they have a countywide short-term rental tax?
I don't know, but I could look that up.
Yeah.
They do.
They don't? Huh? Tillamook does. Do you know off the hand what there are?
Yeah, you have those numbers.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, could we get this on the record, on the recorded record? Because this is really, I think, important information for anybody who isn't here tonight to be able to hear.
Yeah, can you come up and?
Yeah, come on up.
I'm grateful to hear what you have to say. I just want to make sure it gets on the record.
Here, I'll face this way.
Okay, thanks. So, as I was saying, Tillamook County does something a little different, but they do a county-wide tax, and several counties do. I know Multnomah County does, and I know a few others are looking at starting it, such as Lynn. But Tillamook County, just being our neighbor, was one that we checked out, and the way they do it is they have a flat rate, and I believe, off the top of my head, it's 12%, but everybody pays the same amount, and then whatever city has set, theirs at, the county gets the difference. So if you have Tillamook, like I was saying, that theirs is 8%, the difference between the 12% goes to the county and the city gets their 8%. So they're going about it a little different. Other counties that I've seen that have had the countywide tax are usually typically around 3%, some even higher. So, and we're asking 1%. So we are on the small side of what a lot of other jurisdictions are doing.
Great. Any other questions?
Of course.
Please.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So I just want to appreciate the fact that we're having a conversation now about establishing a public policy. And even though we wish the outreach had been more extensive and more effective, it's really wonderful to have community members here to come and tell us about your reality, because this is your life and your livelihood that we're talking about. I mean, I don't know anybody who says, nah, we don't need a new jail. I mean, people know we need a new jail, absolutely know that we need a new jail. So I did the Cannon Beach time-honored tradition and had a post office conversation with somebody, just anecdotally, because that's what we do in Cannon Beach, right? We don't get in-home delivery. We have to meet at the post office to pick up our mail. And so here's a person just off the street talking about the fact that he absolutely supports the general well-being that a new jail would provide. And as far as I know, there's no argument about the need for a new jail. But where we start to have a difference of opinion, let's say, is how do we pay for that jail? And if I'm putting my hand in your pocket to take out money, or I'm asking you to put your hand in somebody else's pocket to take out money, I think I should be respectful and ask about the impact on you. So I'm delighted that you came here to share your perspective, and I appreciate the call to slow down a little and talk about this, because I think it's important to listen to the people, because if you all weren't working hard, we wouldn't have tax dollars to allocate for services for you, because that's why we're here, to be your agents in the collection of tax dollars that we spend on services for you. At least that's my opinion. So I heard a couple of things. I heard comments about the pace. You know, can we slow down and talk about this some? And maybe you just want to be consulted. Maybe you are absolutely opposed and will stay that way, but we need some options here because we have to pay for this. You know, the magic money fairy doesn't exist. And the tax system in Oregon is certainly a challenge in that regard. I also heard issues of tax fairness. You know, the day trippers versus the overnight stay people. How do we fairly allocate the cost burden? And also, I'm delighted that we had someone who is a kind of a home rental person and not just the brick and mortar institutions, because I have several constituents who are very concerned about a number of issues, and looming large is the issue of internet rentals. And haven't we just had this conversation for, I think, a decade, Suzanne, and over, right? We've been talking about, I have a file folder at home in my personal filing cabinet because I could see what was happening in my neighborhood. So absolutely see the need for the jail, absolutely want to support it, absolutely want you to have adequate funding to run it. The things that you're doing absolutely need support, community support. And how do we generate that community support? I think the people who came here tonight want to be willing to support a safe and healthy community. That's what I see. I see nods behind you. And so Kathleen Sullivan started to cry last week. We were talking about homeless people. We can cry every week about the good work that you're doing and how we want to support it. But we want to deal respectfully with the people who are going to have to provide that money for us to spend on services. So how do we do that? And how can we adjust the pace and deal respectfully with our providers?
I completely concur and understand where you're going with this, Commissioner Thompson. But again, we're kind of blurring some lines. These people are not being taxed. The people that come to their establishments will have an extra dollar on their $100 room. So it's not, and I understand where they're coming from, but it's not a tax on the hotel, motel, so to speak, as far as saying this is going to come off your top end. This is something in addition that will be paid from the individual that comes to rent the room. And then short-term rentals, obviously, some of those aren't affected by this, so in some cities. So
better enforcement. But what my constituents in the business tell me is that their competitive advantage or disadvantage is impacted by the extra charges we put. And I have to respect, I mean, these are the
Right.
experts.
And if we were at 3 or 4% asking, like she stated, I could understand that. But that's why we said, 1% is definitely more than fair. And I just believe that it's a sensible way about going about helping to open up a new jail and then have the personnel to run it. So, and to keep their hotel motel safe, because we do get a lot of calls. I mean, every single hotel motel has called us, I can guarantee you. So.
Yeah, and in Cannon Beach, we're particularly sensitive to those issues about being called to hotels. So I appreciate the fact that you're willing to listen and that you feel the sense of support. I wonder if you'd be willing to spend a little more time listening and perhaps negotiating with the industry, because that seems to me to be a better way to proceed.
I would love to hear what they have to say, but I don't know what else. I mean, we've heard them tonight. We know where they stand. I don't know what else I could do to change their opinion. It's obviously they're set. They're going to, go in one direction. I believe that we've been very methodical on this. We've taken our time. We've done definitely our due diligence, and we've done everything we can, and this does not affect them directly, especially when they have such a high return or yield on their, and I was respectful too when they were talking, but when they have such a high return or yield, as far as that 70% coming back to reinvest into their tourism dollars.
Well, and my Cannon Beach neighbors had some ideas about my Arch Cape neighbors, pardon me, because I checked in with them as well, that I think John Mercereau chaired the committee that said, no, please don't give us any tourism promotion dollars for Arch Cape, because we'd rather pass on that. So the solution was to leave a blank spot in the map for Arch Cape. Kidding.
Well, that'd be fine. More money for the rest of the crowd. You can't please everybody. And like I said, a cup of coffee at Starbucks is $4 or $5, $6. So to me, this extra $1 for a room at one night when they go to Bend or wherever they go, I mean, who looks at that bottom line? I mean, it's just not. It's not going to affect. It's kind of like the bypass. Oh, if we build the bypass in Cannon Beach in 1960 or whatever it was, no one's going to come to Cannon Beach anymore. Well, that didn't happen. And same thing with Warrenton when we built it straight through where the Costco is now. That didn't happen. So it's kind of this, this hyper, sensitivity to, an additional tax. And believe me, I'm not a tax guy. I don't like it either. But we also need to increase our ability to hold people accountable, and then also be able to treat people for mental health issues and everything else that comes with the people that are in our jails, in our facility.
Agreed on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have some questions. So I heard about the tourism promotion dollars not going to the places where these different owners and managers think it should go. What is the mechanism for who makes the decision about where the promotion dollars go?
I'm just guessing that the folks that made that comment were talking about tourism promotion dollars that are at their city, and so the city would set up their mechanism for how they make decisions and distribute those dollars, and I'm not familiar with how any of the cities do that, actually.
The money raised in this ordinance would be, the part that comes from the cities would be distributed to the city. The 70% coming from the cities would be distributed back to the cities. So it would be up to the cities to determine where the funding goes. The only tourism funding the county would use on a general basis would be the money like from Arch Cape or the Clatsop Plains outside any boundary of a city.
Oh, so I'm confused about this. So we're not taxing those in the cities?
We're taxing it, and then we're doing IGAs with the city, and we'll give them back the tourism part for use in their city.
We're the mechanism that provides the avenue back for the tax dollars back to them.
So the owners of these facilities would go to the city and perhaps lobby them or be present to ask that.
I think it's a more general, the city would then, the Chamber of Commerce or whatever, do their promotional.
So it's the chambers.
Right.
So the way it's going to ultimately work is the county will.
No, again, I think I don't want to speculate, because I think every city does this differently. And, you know, it would be a city decision then. The money that was generated from this 1%, for instance, Cannon Beach, you know, we're estimating that would be for the city, for tourism promotion, would be $336,000. That goes back to the city of Cannon Beach, and whatever their mechanism is. They may have a committee that does that. They may do it through the city council. I actually don't know. Maybe they do it through the chamber, but then it would go back to them, and they would decide how they would distribute those funds. The one other thing I would just mention, listening to some of the comments, and I want to be very clear here, I'm not giving legal advice to anybody, but the law does require that 70% of the money is spent on tourism promotion, and it fairly well defines what that is. And so if places aren't doing that, you know, you can kind of go back and try to hold their feet to the fire. So, you know, there is some guidance in the law about what tourism promotion is and what it isn't. So.
No, we're not going, no, please.
I have another question. Well, actually, I have a few. So so I heard there's no mechanism for taxing restaurants. That was mentioned. Is that correct? Okay.
There was a law changed about, I don't remember how many years ago, Commissioner, 10, 12 years ago, where, maybe even longer now, 15 years ago, where the restaurant lobbyist went in and had something changed, and I'm not informed enough on that to tell you exactly how it works, but they were able to stop a lot of the taxation because they felt they also were an easy target, as stated earlier.
No one likes to pay taxes. I don't like to pay taxes. But yet I will vote for this bond, and I will be paying a fair amount of taxes.
It's the cheapest bond out there, though, out of all the schools.
But I know personally how absolutely vital this is. I hope that everyone in this room tours the jail. If you go there and you speak to the sheriff or someone who is working there, you will know how vital this is. And also, we have a higher than normal, I think higher than normal, difficulty with getting treatment to people who are in addictions. Most of the people that come into the jail have substance abuse problems, but they can't hold them long enough to get them connected to treatment. That is a problem that affects everyone in this county, everyone. And I feel that whatever the mechanisms are that we can use, whether it's increasing property taxes and I am sorry that this just goes to the hotel motel people, but it's not something we can ignore. It is an ever-growing problem, and if you want to talk to your state legislators, please do, because Oregon we are dead last in mental health of all the states in the nation. That is unconscionable. This is a facility that is designed to help alleviate in our county this problem. It's a small fix, but it is a big help. It promises to be a big help, and we need it. And as I say, it will benefit everyone.
Thank you. Is there any more comments or questions for staff?
I want to be with you on this one, Sheriff, I really do. But I see a room full of people who say, we want to talk some more about this.
Okay.
Are you willing to give it a couple more weeks or beyond the, I mean?
Well, my recommendation to the county commissioners is.
Can you make sure you get on the mic?
My recommendation to the county commissioners is to continue the second reading in 2 weeks on July 25th. And so is county councils. Also, I would invite any one of these individuals to come to my office anytime and we'll sit down and talk to them. or they can come to my house. They can call me anytime, 24/7. Most of them know who I am, where I live, what I do, and we'll sit down and explain the facts. But the true facts are, you can't use this money for, as I heard behind me, cemeteries. You can't. It has to be for tourism, and dead people laying underneath the ground is not tourism. However,
Was that a Tom Bergen joke?
yes,
Sorry.
as a Bergenism. However, and the lines don't need to be blurred. This is an extra dollar out of somebody's pocket that's coming into Clatsop County that may or may not cause additional problems on the jail. We know 27% of it that we have a huge disproportionate amount of transient people that come here to come down and hang out and play. $1 out of their pocket for a $100 room is nothing, and it's not the hotel motel owners that are paying it. It's the person that comes through the door.
So Sheriff, I wonder, Lieutenant Phillips, I wonder, would it be interesting, would it be productive for the business community in the room to take a tour of the prison to see what motivates us? That's not the issue. Okay.
No, please, no comments from the crowd, please.
Sorry.
Like I've always said, Commissioner, my doors are always open to have anybody come. I know David Reed's been through on Rotary. I believe he was there when I did the Rotary tours, because I was in Rotary for 14 years, I think it was. And so I know a lot of people have been through it, and I will continue to take people through it anytime they call. If I'm right there or have time, I will drop everything and run up there and run somebody through.
Okay.
And some of them might even get to stay the night if they want. No, I'm just teasing.
All right.
I have another question. I'd just like to know again, because we went through it kind of fast, how do we compare with, as a county, taxing hotel, motel with other counties?
You have those figures, don't you?
The Dean Runyon Associates report has a breakdown by county, and I believe the cities within each of those counties. I did not bring that entire report with me. It's 300 pages or something, but I could bring that and for the next meeting.
You might have that actually too, don't you?
I don't have
the numbers.
Yeah, I don't have the entire. It is a huge packet, but I do have some of our. I have our counties, and I've also done a ton of research. I've talked to a lot of different counties and jurisdictions on how they handle all of this. And like I had mentioned earlier, Lynn County is looking at implementing it. There's counties that have been doing it for years. The city of Portland has several different mechanisms that they use, using transient lodging and different fees. And like I said, this 1% countywide tax is modest. Most of the time when I see a countywide tax, it's 3% or higher. So,
what was Tillamook?
Tillamook does it differently, so they are different. So the way they do it is they have a flat tax that they've set, where it's, and like I said, I don't know the exact number, I believe it's 12%. So if you go stay anywhere in Tillamook County, you're paying the same amount whether you stay in, the city of Tillamook or in an unincorporated area. But what makes it different is if the city at Tillamook set theirs at 8%, that additional 4% goes to the county. Does that make sense? Versus we are going to have each of the cities have their own amounts, and we're going to have an additional countywide 1%.
Okay. And we don't know about Lincoln County, right?
Are they 10% countywide? So Lincoln County, it sounds like it's 10% countywide.
10%.
Baker County is 7% countywide.
Wow. And we're asking for 1? Okay.
Okay, okay, that concludes this portion of the public hearing, and will be continued to July 25th. I encourage anyone to make written comments, send them to Clatsop County, and we'll have public testimony on the meeting of the 25th. And we may extend it again. We have that option. So we'll work together on this, and so the public hearing will be continued to July 25th. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Sheriff, thank you for your responsiveness.
Okay, now we're going to move on to another ordinance continuation, 18-05. This is a continuation of a public hearing on ordinance 18-05. marijuana facilities, time, place, and manner regulations.
Excuse me, we need to tell Commissioner Sullivan that she can come.
Oh. Thank you, Commissioner.
Be quick.
No, I saw her outside.
She said her nephew would get her. I don't.
No, her nephew's right there.
She thought you would magically know where she was. It's the auntie radar. Okay, bio break.
It seems that we're taking a little break here for a minute.
Yes.
So bear with us, and we'll find our commissioner.
Here she comes. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, welcome back, Commissioner Sullivan.
So we got one commissioner back and we lost
And
one.
we lost one. Leanne? Commissioner Thompson? I think is she talking to Monica?
I thought.
I think she needed to go to the.
I was going to say, don't leave the room.
Nice, and the library is having a music out night, and they're to try to get people out, and they're also showing the designs for the new library, and they look really nice.
Neat.
Very nice, yeah.
Yeah.
And some music, and there was, you know,
Okay, where'd Leanne go? Is she? Is her?
I saw the mayor. and-
Okay.
Oh, she's out in the hallway.
Oh, I'll go get her.
Okay, this is a, I'll just start over. This is a continuation of ordinance 18-05. This is a continuation of a public hearing on ordinance 18-05, marijuana facilities, time, place, and manner regulations. The hearing was originally continued to the July 11th meeting. The hearing will instead be continued to July 25th.
Is that for the?
That's it. We're just moving it down.
That's the announcement.
Postponement to date certain of second reading, which is going to be July 25th. So there's no action at this time.
Oh, that's C, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, welcome back. And then business agenda, we have one item on the business agenda tonight, and this is the cost of living adjustment for unrepresented employees, page 185. May I have the staff report, please?
Yes, I'm sure you're all familiar that this is an annual process that we go through. In all of our collective bargaining agreements, there are requirements in there for annual cost of living raises. Since we don't have agreements, obviously, with the unrepresented folks, we come to you each year and make a recommendation as to what we think that cost of living increase should be. You'll see some information on page 185, which kind of gives you how we come up with that number. But the measure that we use, which is in all of our union contracts, is the Consumer Price Index Urban West region. That covers a number of states here in the western United States. That's the measure that we've agreed to use, with the union. So using the CPIU West region, if we look at the last 12 months, we have seen inflation of about 3.5%. We've had a number of years where we were able to kind of get by without a lot of inflation. You might recall this year, I think it was about 2% that we gave this year. So that was, the inflation for the previous year. Obviously, in the last year, inflation has crept up quite a bit. What I am recommending is 3.5% for the unrepresented employees. That total cost on that would be about $184,060, which we have budgeted for.
Yes, it's fairly straightforward.
I have some questions.
Go right ahead, Commissioner Sullivan.
So is this the same amount of percentage increase that the represented employees received?
Yeah, all of the 5 unions received a 3.5% increase. Again, that's contractual. So they received that effective basically July 1st, which is the new fiscal year. So what we're talking about here is just the folks that are not represented by a union, approximately 49 county employees.
So is this increase a one-time increase for 1 year, or?
No, this would be an increase to the base salary of 3.5%.
Okay. And then, has this already been budgeted for?
Yes.
And then, is this different than the incentive bonus pay?
It is. The incentive pay is one time for achieving certain goals and outcomes. This is really just the salary that we pay people to do their jobs and the annual cost of living increase that we provide to them.
And this includes the department heads?
This mainly is the department heads and people in management. So the staff that are unrepresented generally are in some management capacity in the county.
Well, I certainly am for recognizing inflationary costs, pressures. I guess part of my concern is this increase will lead to then when the 4% bonus pay, it's all cumulative, and with PERS
the bonus pay is not cumulative.
But if they get a 3.5% increase in their wage, then they get the bonus pay is 4% of their annual salary, correct? So their annual salary is increased, and then the bonus pay is increased.
It's up to 4%. We'll come back with a report on how that worked out this year, but most people didn't get 4%.
And this also increases the, I don't know, I'm worried about PERS, and I'm worried, I don't know where we go, how we fix that, but this is part of the stepping stone of that, to increase wages that increases down the line PERS costs. And I know this is a conversation the entire state needs to have, but I think it's something we need to be mindful of when we give out increases, because they're 90% of their medical costs are covered, correct? And those have also gone up.
Yes.
And so it's all cumulative, and it makes me worry how we will sustain this. Now, in one of the budget committee meetings, when the underdeputy, just as an example, Sheriff Bergen was saying, when the pay is this much, there has to be a difference between the top and the one below that. How does this affect that situation?
Well, it doesn't really affect it, because if the folks that are in a represented position, for instance, are getting 3.5%, and then the department head that supervises them gets 3.5%, we maintain that 10% compression. The way we would have a problem is if we don't do this for management, then we start getting where the salaries start to compress.
So this is and it says the confidential, casual, and contracted employees. So that means everyone that's not in the union, and whatever job they have, they will all get a cost of living increase.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. If there's no more further questions for staff, I'd look for a motion.
Okay. Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I wasn't. It seems like there was some other thing I wanted to ask. I did have one more question to ask. And in here it says that this is a U.S. city average, because it's difficult to get an inflationary cost for rural areas. Is there a big difference between you know, if this is the overall use, how do they manage that? I mean, the cost of living here is much different than at Los Angeles, so.
It's often more here.
Can be.
Yeah. Don't they use the consumer price index for the western region?
Yeah, and I should have brought the data that tells which states are included in this, but I believe there's something like 12, 13 western states that are part of this, so that answers part of your question. Yeah, Los Angeles is higher, but, you know, Flagstaff, Arizona may be a lot lower.
I got it right here. The western region is 13 states: Alaska, Arizona, California, Colorado, Hawaii, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, New Mexico, Oregon, Utah, Washington, Wyoming. That is a very cross measure of a lot of different states. And yeah, I mean, if the union negotiated 3.5%, I mean, it would, yeah, we should go here. This is really simple.
Well, and again, this isn't for the union folks. They get
Exactly,
that
that's what I mean.
contractually, but, you know, you do have to consider internal equity issues as well.
I guess it's just, I'm a little nervous with talk of trade wars and whatnot. We just have to keep an eye on it, and it just makes me very nervous because I don't think there are any guarantees in the future.
Well, this is most of this, what you speak to, the Pierce thing, is the state legislature, that's in their department, so. I hear you loud and clear.
And also in the past, when we had a downturn in the economy, the county
COLA went
managed.
down.
You just tighten your belt. That's what we did.
Yeah, I mean, there were at least one year that I was here for, and probably, I'm guessing, a few before that, where the cost of living increases weren't very big, because there was one year in there we actually had negative inflation for the year. I don't know what it was in this region, but in the Midwest where I was at, it was actually negative for 1 year, so there were no cost of living increases that year.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing something similar happened here.
So Charlie, I'd like to make a motion. I move to approve the attached resolution in order implementing a cost of living adjustment of 3.5% for Clatsop County unrepresented, confidential, and casual employees and effective July 1 of 2018.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the attached resolution order implementing a cost of living adjustment of 3.5% for Clatsop County unrepresented, confidential, and casual employees effective July 1st, 2018. Is there any further deliberations? Seeing no further, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I will vote for it, but I just want to express my concern. I think we have to be mindful of how we spend these dollars, and I know that the representative employees have already gotten a 3.5%, so it makes sense to give it to the unrepresented employees. But I think there will come a time, and we'll have to discuss how this plays into PERS and what we can do looking ahead. So I'll vote for this. Thank you.
Okay, so that's, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Our final issue tonight, not an issue, excuse me, commissioner reports. Commissioner Nebaker.
Okay, I attended the Health and Human Services Advisory Council, and let's see, we're going to have a new prevention specialist full-time. We haven't had that before. We had a part-time, I believe. Is that correct? We had part-time, right? Now we are full-time. And this person will be for parenting education, which I think is terrific. They will also do some amount of regional coordination as required by Oregon Parenting Education Collaborative. They will assist with My Future, My Choice, sexuality education for high school students, which is free to schools. Also, problem gambling prevention at all age levels. Even the middle school students are having problems with this. Not in casinos, of course, but they are gambling. Also for tobacco, the coordinator will be doing an assessment in stores to see placement of tobacco near candy, sugary drinks, and other enticing items to youth. Let's see. Oh, and it was suggested, and I believe it's going to happen, Health and Human Services will be, the council will be rotating meetings to meet at different provider facilities in order to tour sites and better understand these providers. I don't know if that's been cleared yet, but that's what they want to do, which I think is a good idea. I also attended the Seaside City Council meeting where they were voting on ADUs, accessory dwelling units. And the state has new guidelines and ordinances that allow for ADUs in order to provide remedies for low-cost housing. So Seaside, I believe they approved 525 square foot ADUs. I think that might be the guideline for the state. And then up to 800 square feet that would be conditional. So I guess the county, is the county affected by this as well? Because it's a population of 2,500 or greater, I believe.
I don't know that I can answer that question, Gail. I don't know if you know.
My understanding is that with the new legislation that was passed in 2018, I think it's House Bill 4031, it clarifies that it's only in the urban growth boundaries for those areas. There are several zoning districts already on the county's books where we do allow accessory dwelling units, and we don't have a minimum or maximum size requirement.
No minimum or maximum?
Correct.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, you know, ADUs have been used in Canada and other countries for decades. And whether we like it or not, people of different economic levels are moving to the Northwest. And I think the state is wise in creating a reasonable, planned way to accommodate this influx and striving to be as much ahead of this as possible. I don't know how you can get ahead of it really, but they're trying to create solutions. So I'm glad to see that. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Sullivan.
Thank you. I attended the Northwest Senior Disability Board meeting June 28th. I'm very excited that in July the meeting is going to be held here in Warrenton. They hold it in Warrenton about once a year. So this time I'll be able to attend in person rather than by phone. One of the things that I think the Northwest Senior Disability Services are just doing a terrific job. And one of the things that we talk about is managing the budgets for the food programs. I think I want to give a shout out to the Astoria Senior Center here. They do a great job. Deb, who has recently gotten a job with the school district, but she brought the food costs down by half by cooking from scratch, and the attendance is pretty good. It's a great program, and I just want to say, and I think Warrenton also and Seaside, they all do a great job, but something that we need to keep in our minds. Tuesday morning, I attended the Clatsop Community College listening session at Mertz. The Clatsop, and I was trying to talk about how I'm just going to use their words. Clatsop Community College is about to embark on an exciting project that will transform our college and our community. We have a unique opportunity to revitalize our maritime science building on the CCC Mertz campus so that we can assure a bright future for the students and businesses that rely on marine sciences. This is a really hidden gem. There's a huge need for these jobs all across the country. Graduates start out at $80,000. There's a lot of security. I think a lot of people in the area don't even know that we have it here. And part of what they're doing is getting the word out so that when they want to build a new building there, all the technology and changes in the industry requires them to do that, but they also are at capacity at the building that they have now. I think it'll be a really positive thing for our region, and I really want to help get the word out. And it'll be a fundraising effort also. I will be going to Salem for the FTLIC meeting Friday. There will be updates on the Forest Management Plan, the Habitat Conservation Plan, the Tillamook Forest Heritage Trust, and Salmonberry update. And then following the FTLIC meeting, the ODF will host an informational meeting concerning the ongoing Northwest State Management Plan revision. This is at 1:30 in the same location, and this is aimed toward the public, although the FTLC meeting is a public meeting. Only written testimony will be accepted at this meeting. The public will be allowed to provide in-person as well as written testimony to the Board of Forestry meeting July 24th in Salem. So Liz Dent and ODF will be presenting the guiding principles and anyways, they're talking about the forest management plan. So if you're interested in that, that's an opportunity to see that. The state forest management plan establishes goals and directions on how to manage the state forest. I will be attending the Nehalem Scenic Waterway Advisory Council meeting July 18th down at the Nehalem Bay State Park Meeting Hall. This will be the second meeting for the advisory committee. There are 12 members on the advisory committee representing all the stakeholders, ranchers, railroad, residents, ODF, timber, Tillamook, and Clatsop County, et cetera. The first meeting went very well, and I expect that the second meeting will also go well. In addition to this, there will be 2 additional meetings later on this fall for the public to attend and make comments, and then I believe it goes back to the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department, who make the final determination, and then it goes to the governor. And this is a long process. If you want more information on it, check out the Oregon Parks and Rec webpage. So that's all I have for tonight. Thanks.
Commissioner Thompson.
Well, good. I spent a lot of time reaching out to people and listening to what they had to say, and they had a lot to say, so I'm glad people showed up tonight to be part of our public governance process. I'm grateful for that. There's something new and exciting that's happening. Commissioner Neberger, you remember I went to that conference in Portland about tiny houses, so if you're interested in that, I would have to track it down, but I have some more information from that conference if that's interesting to you. So I'm happy to offer that up just as soon as I find it. The Association of Oregon Counties, I think I've told you that Commissioner Schuster from Benton County and I are co-chairs of that. What we're looking at, though, is how to be more effective. And last Friday was the first meeting of the body called the Housing Stability Council. And there were representatives, it was the coolest and best meeting I've been to in a long, long time, because there were people around the table from a variety of professions and disciplines who were all devoted to looking at how to make housing available all over Oregon. And Commissioner Schuster and I sat in the front row and cheered them on when they talked about, I cheered them on when they talked about rural Oregon and housing in rural Oregon. So I introduced myself to 6 of the 7 council members, and one of them is Lincoln County Commissioner Claire Hall. So we have a direct connection. Yesterday we had a phone call with Andy White, the AOC staffer. So we're going to try and link in so that we partner on a statewide level with the new initiative that's coming through Oregon Housing and Community Services to be able to stabilize and make housing available all over Oregon, and being there in the room, not quite at the table yet, but in the room with direct personal relationships with people who are going to make a difference in that regard, I think is very important. I too went to the listening session on Clatsop Community College and the Mertz campus. It's really, I mean, those are good jobs. Those are steady jobs. Those are family wage living jobs. And Port Commission Chair Frank Spence was there as well. It's exciting to see the port functional and powerful in this community. It's just really an honor and a joy to be out there with you, Frank. What they said was the total cost will be $22 million. There's $8 million in a state match if Clatsop Community College gets the matching money by January of 2021. So there's $14 million yet to be raised. They were clear this was not a fundraising meeting. They were clear that they were going to be making fundraising calls. What they had us in there doing was getting clear on what should be the message. And in our group, we talked about Representative Boone and Mark Morgans from Greenwood Resources and I were in a subgroup. And what Mark talked about that impressed me was the fact that they have a track record at the college in being able to manage similar projects. So it isn't just pie in the sky or an aspirational goal as much as it's a continuation of their past successful efforts with Toller Hall, Columbia Hall, and Patriot Hall. So this is a continuation to make a more robust and positive presence in our community, and expecting to draw people from all over the nation and even all over the world to come and study here. But the coolest part is that they're saying there'll be an emphasis on keeping local students here and engaged. So when we talk about, as many of us do, how can we have jobs, good jobs here for our local kids so they don't have to leave, this is a prime candidate for that. So that's really exciting to me. I get letters from Vacasa all the time. They want me to rent my house out through them. As we heard tonight, we're looking for ways to mitigate some negative effects. We're looking for ways to build our community resources. I think if we work together so that we have a more fair system, we'll all be better off, and I just want to personally commit to doing that. Tomorrow is COLPAC, the Regional Economic Development Entity, and it's late, I'm not going to go into the details of that, but next week, usually in the morning we have COLPAC, Regional Economic Development activities from Columbia, Clatsop, and Tillamook counties, and then in the afternoon we have Northwest Act, which is the Area Committee on Transportation, but the Oregon Transportation Commission itself is coming here to Astoria on the 19th. So if you want to make your presence known to the commission that decides a lot about transportation priorities, and if you've been driving our roads during tourist season, this may be of great interest to you. I know it is to me because I come up from the very south edge of the county and I see what coastal traffic is like. So I'm really highly motivated to have my input go to the Oregon Transportation Commission. So that's on the 19th here in Astoria. That's enough for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I just have one item. I got a text from Commissioner Clement. She's been stuck on a plane on the tarmac in LA for like 7 or 8 hours. Oh. There's some sort of emergency down there, and she hasn't, her flights, they're not even allowed to talk on their phones.
Oh, wow.
So, but she's okay. I don't know what's going on down there. I looked in the news, I didn't see anything. So if I could request that she's excused because of this emergency. Yeah, I have nothing to report today. County Manager Moore.
Yeah, just a couple of items, and particularly for the commissioners. We do have the mediation team. I think there'll be 2 people from Clackamas County coming down to work with us August 7th from 6 to 8. But I want to give you each a heads up that one of the folks that will be coming, her name is Erin Ruff. She will be contacting each of you ahead of time, so she can kind of get to know who's going to be in the room and that type of thing. So expect a call from her, I'm guessing maybe even this week.
August 7th?
Yes.
Okay.
And I just provided her with your contact information this afternoon, so I presume she'll be calling fairly soon. So another thing, this is just more of a heads up. I know we had kind of had the discussion about pay and cost of living and all that, but I think you're probably aware that in January of this year, the Oregon legislature passed, I think, a pretty significant Pay Equity Act. And it's actually House Bill 2005 for those that want to look at it. But I think it's really going to change. I don't know how much yet, but I think it's really going to change the way that employers, look at wages and internal equity issues and a variety of other things. And I only bring that up because that's going to be probably getting ready and implementing that will be a pretty significant project. And it could be a pretty significant change from what we've been doing. The implementation date on that is January 1st of 2019. However, there's a few years after that, I think it's 2021 or 2022, before you actually start incurring any penalties for not being in compliance with it. So apparently they're giving you a little bit of a grace period there to figure out how you're going to get in compliance with that Pay Equity Act. But I just want you to be aware of that, because that's going to be a pretty significant commitment of administrative time, I think, going forward over the next 6 months to get ready for January 1st of 2019. One other thing I'll mention, and some of you may have heard about this, is with the Walmart opening, it's creating some traffic issues. And so we're going to at least start the conversation tomorrow, City of Warrenton and ODOT, about what changes, if any, are necessary there, what could be made. So it's just beginning of the conversation. But I think something needs to change there. I just don't know if we know exactly what it is right now. So that's my report.
Could I just follow up with one question?
Sure.
Since I come through there a lot when I'm on my way here, when they're considering Walmart, if they would also consider traffic that's going southbound on the turn lane, what I've seen is several near car crashes when they're making left turns after the light turns red and the other traffic headed comes out. So
yeah, it'll be comprehensive for that area. It's just that the increased traffic with Walmart has really exacerbated a lot of those issues. So, but we won't just be looking at the Walmart entrance. So, yeah. Yep.
Is Walmart going to be involved in the talks?
Well, I suspect eventually they may be, but right now it's getting together with the jurisdictions to say, okay, what do we all think the problems are, and then we can start talking about the solutions.
And about the House, the new bill, that was passed in January?
Yeah, January of this year.
Maybe we can get some information on what is it that how that will change things.
Yep.
Was that in mind when we? I'd just be interested in learning more about that.
Yeah, we're all going to have to learn a lot more about that, and we'll get back to you in a couple.
How far
months.
along are we on with that?
We're really not that far along, because there's a committee that was put together. I think if you understand how legislation works, once the legislation passes, then somebody has to get together and actually write the rules, typically called the administrative rules. And that really is what tells you, how it's going to work. Mm-hmm. And that committee at this point has had one meeting, and that was kind of organizational. I think they have a second meeting coming up at the end of this week or next week. Our consultant that we've been using for several years on HR issues, these are the people that help design our compensation and classification plan, and also worked with us during our union contract negotiations. The president of that company is actually on this committee. And so, we'll probably be working with her and her firm to try to understand, what we need to do, given that she will be in the room as these discussions are happening, and can give us some real insight into, what.
Well, what was the purpose of it? If it's an equity thing, are they saying similar jobs need similar pay? Is it a gender issue?
I think it's way beyond that. I think that's part of where they're trying to get to, is to sort of force employers to look at broader factors than just that. The traditional factors that we look at, for instance, would be what do other employers pay for similar work? Mm-hmm. We want to be competitive in the marketplace. But I think pay equity takes you to a whole nother level of analysis that you're going to have to do in terms of, how you compensate people. And again, I'm not an expert in it at all at this point, but we're pretty confident that it's probably going to make some pretty significant changes, and the numbers may not come out different, but what I'm saying is how we arrive at what we pay people. That process may be very different. We'll probably be considering and weighting factors that we may not have considered or weighted quite as much in the past.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, meeting's adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.